Hi, and welcome back to
Inspired the Game. I'm Sean.
And I'm Lola. Today we bring you a review of One Earth that plays approximately around 30 to 45 minutes. Before we get into our review of this game, we're going to give you a very quick overview of how to play it. One Earth is played over an indeterminate amount of rounds. On each player's turn, they are going to take their income based on where their prosperity marker is on the board. They can use that income to buy up to 2 project cards, up to 1 technology card, and up to 1 climate card. When you have chosen the cards you want to purchase, you'll place project cards in front of you. In the top left corner, you'll notice that there are 2 icons. The top left one represents how many emissions this industry is going to cause your nation. Take your emission marker on the board and raise it by that amount. Now, in addition to raising your own emissions, you also will raise the global emissions by that exact same amount. Below that, you'll see a couple leaves. That's your prosperity. That shows how much prosperity this will add to your nation. And then you'll go to the board and increase your prosperity marker by that amount. Technology cards can be played only on certain corresponding project cards, and they are used to either decrease emissions of that card or increase your prosperity. Climate cards can be used to decrease your own level of emissions as well as the global emissions. Play continues like this, with every person gaining their income, which will be increasing after each round, as well as spending on purchasing additional project cards and any technologies and climate cards people want to gather. The goal of the game is to achieve a certain level of prosperity, as determined based on how many players are in your game, as well as what mode you're playing in, while the global emissions is below a certain point. There are 2 different modes to this game, standard and advanced. In the advanced mode, you will also be gaining a leader card, which will give you additional powers for your nation. Now, in the advanced mode of the game for 3 to 4 players, you will have UN meetings where you can pass resolutions, vote on them, as well as sanction the highest emitting nation if emissions are over a critical limit. The 3 to 4 player game varies a little bit, with having warning and critical events that occur if global emissions are a little bit too high. And in a nutshell, that is how you play One Earth. I had a lot of fun with this game. It's a nice lightweight game along the lines of Parks. So we played this at 2 players as well as 3 players and 4 players. And one of the things that's really interesting is it plays very differently at the different player counts, as well as if you're doing the standard versus the advanced mode. And I really love that it gives you that option. So a standard mode is nicer to play with younger kids, or as well in the classroom setting, it moves the game along faster, but the advanced mode gives you a lot more strategic maneuvering to do as well, and makes it just that much more a little bit meaty.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just the addition at the higher player counts of those of the sanction card and the warnings, although that is a major part of that, but it's also just the feel of the game and how other players are affecting that global emissions that really changes the way it plays.
Yeah. So at the 3 and 4 player count, you can have the resolutions, you can vote on whether ones pass, you can sanction the highest emitter. So if there's somebody who's been making a lot of income, pulling in a lot of big heavy industries that are polluting a lot, well, you can pull them back and rein them in. So that element of the game does bring a little bit more of a direct confrontation as well as accountability with it as well, so it brings a bit more nuanced. So I think this element with the UN and the resolutions and stuff is a really wonderful element, particularly in the classroom, even like as in a family or a homeschooling family. This is a fantastic game for learning about how industry affects emissions as well as prosperity, and what's nice is you're trying to balance them both. So obviously your nation wants to be prosperous, and that's the point of the game. You need to bring in a certain amount of money. Your money is your income to buy new industries, but at the same time you need to keep those emissions down. So by either choosing industries that are lower emitters in the first place, or by using technologies to bring down that emission or to bring up that prosperity, as well as using climate initiatives to help bring that down. It makes for a nice balance.
And in addition, each card has flavor text at the bottom, so they tell you a little bit about these technologies and a little bit about the industry for those cards, a little bit about the technology that would be affecting them, and how we can ourselves invest in these, if we had an industry, of course, to improve these things in our actual planet.
Yeah, and I always love flavor text, particularly for homeschooling and for educational purposes. It's really nice. Like, we learned a few things from some of the climate action things that we didn't know about before, and some of the things about certain technologies as well. It's got that nice element to add. Now, the leaders as well is a nice addition to the game that adds in a certain variability of play, because each leader has its own power. And as this is a competitive game, you are working against each other, as in trying to score the most points and such, but you do have to work together to a certain amount as well, because once those emissions get too high, if they get to number 30, now the planet is uninhabitable, and in most scenarios that is a lose scenario for everyone. So you don't want it to get too high. So in a 2-player game, you need to use an automa as well. And what's nice is it's fairly easy to use. So you have the general running, so the leader, and he pretty much is there just to kind of drive up emissions to simulate another player around. So it's easy to use and nice and functional.
As well, removing cards and random elements like that.
Yeah, yes. And it's kind of interesting because it is very much a different game at a 2-player versus a 3 to 4-player game. So if you want more of that confrontational aspect, if you like that idea of voting on resolutions and choosing resolutions, that does bring a new dynamic to the game, then that's nice at the higher level player count. But I actually really enjoyed this as a 2-player game as well. So this is a very straightforward game that's wonderful in a classroom for homeschooling kids, or just for a great educational game in the theme. It's a wonderful primer for how industry affects global emissions, as well as then how environmental efforts can help. I would say it's a really great gateway game as well. So if you're interested in checking it out, this is available in retail right now. You can take a look at it as well. We also would recommend within this theme, if you want to go for a cooperative game with a little bit more complexity to it, we recommend Earth Rising as well. So we really love these environmental games. They're great for educating people, and they're fun to play.
And it's great getting the ideas out in the global consciousness, or at least through the gaming community.
Yeah, as well. Thank you so much for watching today.
Check out some of our other videos.
And as always, happy gaming, folks.
That is the smile of long suffering. Did you see it? Go back and play it in slow-mo. See I'm smiling so I don't kill him.
Then that's what I have to say about that.
That's my boat.
That's my boat.